As the first light of dawn brushes across the ancient towers of Angkor Wat, reflecting on the still waters below, the world sees Cambodia in all its majesty, timeless, sacred, and serene. People come here chasing history, seeking the poetry of stone and the silence of gods. But take one wrong turn, or perhaps the right one, just a few streets away, and that postcard image begins to fade. There, the pavement disappears, replaced by red dust and broken dreams. Barefoot children chase old rubber tires through muddy alleys. Women squat beside smoky fires, boiling rice in dented pots, while the stench of burning garbage fills the humid air. This is not the Siem Reap of glossy travel magazines, but the real Siem Reap, where the golden light of tourism never quite reaches. A city that welcomes millions of visitors each year, yet shelters thousands who live in its shadow. A place of grandeur and suffering, beauty and despair. Once the proud heart of the Khmer Empire, now it beats faintly beneath corrugated roofs, on dirt roads, in the lungs of men and women breathing through dust. Here, children grow up learning to endure before they learn to dream. Fathers pedal for miles just to earn a few dollars. Mothers smile through the exhaustion, because hope, fragile as it is, remains their only wealth. Siem Reap, the brightest star on Cambodia's tourist map, yet the darkest corner of its reality. A paradox so haunting it demands to be seen, where thousand-year-old temples watch silently over the people fighting for tomorrow. Today, we're not just here to admire beauty, we're here to confront truth, the kind that lives behind the polished images, the kind that refuses to be ignored. Because this is not a story about tourism. This is a story about people and how they survive inside a paradise that has forgotten them. Welcome to Fascinating Discoveries, where we step beyond the light of Angkor and into the shadows behind it, to uncover the real beauty that the world chooses not to see. Number 1. Life behind the tourist paradise. Just a few streets away from the glittering heart of Siem Reap's tourist district, the world changes completely. On one side, golden lights shimmer over five-star hotel pools, where tourists raise glasses of cocktails under the sunset, snapping photos against thousand-year-old walls. On the other, just steps away, stand homes made of rusted tin, old wood, and stitched plastic, held together by hope more than nails. Here, people don't talk about travel plans. They talk about tomorrow's meal. There's no air conditioning, only the heavy heat rising from cracked soil and the smell of smoke that lingers in their hair. A tuk-tuk driver waits for hours under the same blazing sun that gleams off the tourists' sunglasses. A woman selling grilled bananas wipes sweat from her face, sitting under a torn tarp. And through wire fences, children stare quietly as strangers pass by, carrying a kind of light they've never known. This contrast isn't just about wealth, it's about existence. On one side are leisurely footsteps echoing through ancient ruins. On the other, calloused feet sunk deep in mud and dust. According to the World Bank, 2024, the average income here is less than $4 a day, not even enough to buy a single coffee in the luxury hotels downtown. And yet, amidst this harsh divide, something remains unbroken: the smile. The mother's smile after selling a few bananas, the father's grin when his tuk-tuk finally gets a passenger, the laughter of children watching the sun paint their tin roofs gold. In Siem Reap, people learn to live between two worlds, one celebrated online and another that exists in silence. But in that forgotten world lies the true essence of humanity: resilience. Life here doesn't stop. It moves, slowly, steadily, like the soft hum of a tuk-tuk rolling down a red dirt road at dusk, echoing against the fading light. In these narrow back streets, every sunrise marks a quiet battle for survival. And next, we'll follow one man through a day of labor to understand what it truly takes to earn a living in Siem Reap's poorest neighborhoods. Number 2. A day of hard labor. Before dawn breaks over Siem Reap, when the air is still heavy with dust and silence, Mr. Chan is already awake. He's 52 years old, lean, weathered, and resilient. His old bicycle and a pair of calloused hands are all he owns. In the dim half-light, he ties a shovel, a plastic bucket, and a worn pair of gloves onto his bike. There's no alarm clock, only roosters and the rhythm of survival that wakes him. As he pedals through the empty streets, he passes glowing billboards of luxury resorts, where one night's stay costs more than his entire month's wage. By the time the city stirs, he's standing on an open lot where dozens of laborers gather each morning, waiting for a chance. No contracts, no guarantees, just hope. Some days, someone calls his name. Other days, he goes home empty-handed. Today, he's lucky. He's hired to carry bricks at a construction site. 10 hours under the scorching 40-degree sun, his skin darkens, sweat mixing with dust, tracing lines down his back. The clang of metal, the roar of cement mixers, the foreman's shouts. They merge into the rough soundtrack of survival. Lunch is a handful of cold rice and salt, eaten in the shade of a half-built wall. Yet he smiles faintly, whispering to himself, "As long as I can eat, I'm still lucky." Here, there are no better choices, only the choice to keep going. For people like Mr. Chan, life is a loop of labor, waiting, hoping, and enduring. $3 a day, not enough to dream, but enough to survive another day. In Siem Reap, time isn't measured by money, but by endurance. As dusk falls, he rides home, his shadow stretching long over the red dirt road, swallowed slowly by twilight. One day ends, another begins, and the quiet battle to survive goes on, unseen, uncelebrated, but unbroken. While men like Mr. Chan wrestle with stone and sun, in another corner of the city, children are fighting their own battle, a fight just to reach school. Number 3. Children and education. As the sun climbs higher over Siem Reap, the sound of children's laughter rises from a small wooden hut tucked deep inside the city's slums. It isn't really a school, just a tin-roofed shack with patched wooden walls, a blackboard made from a painted plank, and bamboo benches hammered together by hand. 40 children crowd into the tiny room, sitting cross-legged on the dusty floor, gripping worn notebooks with smudged pages as their teacher writes on the board. Here, letters aren't just knowledge, they are lifelines, fragile tickets to escape the cycle of poverty. Yet those tickets are rare. According to UNICEF Cambodia 2024, only about 60% of children in Siem Reap's poorer areas complete primary school. The rest drop out early, not because they don't want to learn, but because hunger doesn't wait. A 10-year-old boy selling lottery tickets in the market says quietly, "Every ticket I sell means more rice for my family." Meanwhile, just a few streets away, other children, the sons and daughters of tourists and the wealthy, wear crisp uniforms, riding air-conditioned buses, laughing on their way to visit Angkor Wat. That contrast is more than a scene. It's a scar between two worlds, one learning about Cambodia's history and the other living its harshest chapter. In the makeshift classroom, their teacher, a young woman who once dreamed of becoming a professor, smiles as she says, "I teach so they can believe their future is worth dreaming about." Every stick of chalk she wears down becomes a small spark of hope. The children laugh even when they're hungry. They read even when their hands tremble. They write even when the light is dim. In Siem Reap, education isn't a right, it's a privilege. And in a city famous for its ancient temples, these bamboo classrooms are modern miracles, built not on concrete, but on courage. Yet not every child gets that chance. In many corners of this city, the hands that should be holding pencils are holding brooms, knives, and unfinished dreams. And that is the story of the women who fight to survive in Siem Reap. Number 4. Women struggling to survive. Under the sweltering heat of Siem Reap, where red dust clings to everything like a second skin, women work tirelessly in silence. They don't have time to dream of the future. Every day is a battle between hunger and survival, between exhaustion and endurance. In a small market corner, a single mother crouches beside a rusted charcoal stove, grilling ripe bananas over a blackened wire rack. The scent of caramelized fruit mixes with the thick air, the chatter of vendors, the hum of tuk-tuks, the noise of life. Each skewer sells for a few hundred reals, barely a few cents, but enough to buy dinner for her 2 children. Not far away, another woman hauls buckets of water for a hotel, her shoulders trembling under the weight, her torn sandals sinking into the mud. They earn about $2 or $3 a day, an amount so small it seems impossible, yet it is their entire world. Some clean marble floors in the city's luxury homes, returning to dirt floors at night. Others sell lottery tickets, their faces etched with lines of sun and time, their smiles brave masks for the uncertainty beneath. Here, happiness isn't the goal, survival is. But in their eyes lies something extraordinary: calm resilience. Because after years of hardship, they've learned to find faith in the smallest things: a child's laughter, a full meal, a day without rain. These women, though poor, carry a power that defies poverty, the power of patience, of love, of standing tall after every fall. They are the pillars of their fragile homes, the soul of Siem Reap's hidden alleys, and the living proof that while poverty can strip away comfort, it can never steal dignity. When night descends over the city, tiny oil lamps flicker through the cracks of wooden huts, fragile, trembling lights, yet unyielding, just like the women who keep them burning. And while these mothers continue to fight for warmth and food, the city outside faces another kind of darkness: pollution, waste, and the quiet collapse of the environment they depend on. Number 5. Pollution and lack of infrastructure. In the poorest outskirts of Siem Reap, where the city's light fades into endless red dust, life continues in scenes most travelers will never witness. The roads are unpaved, cracked, and raw. Every passing motorbike stirs up clouds of ochre dust that cling to skin, hair, and breath. When it rains, the dust becomes sludge, seeping into homes, coating floors, and swallowing what little comfort people try to keep clean. Murky brown water flows through shallow ditches, carrying plastic bottles, discarded wrappers, and the sharp stench of burning trash. The smoke rises and hangs in the thick, humid air, a bitter fog that scratches the throat. According to the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, 2024 report, 1 in every 3 households in Siem Reap lacks access to a proper toilet. Many families rely on open pits or go outdoors, often dangerously close to their water sources. Each monsoon brings contaminated floods that spread disease. Children fall sick with fevers. Mothers boil water that never truly becomes clean. Here, the concept of infrastructure barely exists. There are no drainage systems, no garbage collection, no reliable clean water. Everything operates on habit, resilience, and resignation. The flies buzz incessantly around piles of waste. The smell of smoke and sewage fuses into one unforgettable scent: the scent of poverty itself. And yet, amid this decay, people still find ways to live. A man sweeps the ground in front of his hut, even though he knows the wind will bring the trash back. A mother collects rainwater in an old bucket, believing those drops are cleaner than anything else around her. In this city, Life persists, not because the environment allows it, but because the human spirit refuses to give in. In Siem Reap, people don't just live in poverty. They live through it, one breath, one day, one act of quiet endurance at a time. But humans aren't the only ones affected. As the rivers clog with waste and the sky fills with smoke, nature itself begins to cry out. A warning that the darkness consuming this city isn't just about poverty, but about the slow erasure of its very environment. Number 6. Displaced by development. There are streets in Siem Reap that no longer exist on the map, erased to make room for progress. Where once stood humble homes now rise luxury hotels, glowing pools, and neon signs that never sleep. The people who once swept leaves, sold fruit, or drove tuk-tuks for tourists have been pushed far away to relocation zones 10 to 15 kilometers outside the city. They didn't leave by choice. They were moved in the name of development. Those patches of land were not just property, they were memories, roots, and lives built over decades. But when new projects appeared, so did the signs. Compensation and relocation. According to Cambodia's Ministry of Land Management, 2024, more than 20,000 people in Siem Reap province have been displaced over the past decade to make way for tourism complexes and foreign investments. In the relocation sites, promises fade into dust. The homes are fragile, the soil dry, and there is no clean water, no markets, no nearby schools. People who once walked 5 minutes to work now pedal for hours, spending what little they earn on fuel. A mother says softly, "Before, I just had to step outside to sell grilled bananas. Now, no one passes by anymore. Development has taken more than land. It has taken livelihoods. Behind every restored stone wall is a tin roof abandoned. Behind every luxury suite, a family is forced to start over. They call it urban progress, but for many, it feels like deliberate erasure. These people have become shadows on the edge of a story they no longer belong to, witnesses to a transformation that forgot them. In the golden light of dusk, the relocation zones lie quiet, small wooden homes surrounded by dry grass and silence. There are children playing, smoke from cooking fires, signs of life. Yet something vital is missing: fairness. As these families are pushed further from the city's lights, their old neighborhoods vanish under layers of concrete. And the tourism world keeps expanding, paid for with a price only the poor can afford. Number 7. The poor market, the soul of the community. There are places in Siem Reap that don't appear on any tourist map, yet they hold the city's beating heart. Pisar Tropiang, Tom Market, muddy, chaotic, and loud, is where the poorest cling to the most precious thing they still have: the will to live. Before dawn breaks, women arrive with baskets of bananas, bundles of greens, and trays of fish. They don't count days by calendars, but by the number of mornings they've woken before sunrise. The air is thick with the scent of raw fish, charcoal smoke, damp vegetables, and human sweat, a mixture so real it almost stings the senses. Stalls built from weathered wood lean under patched tarps, their floors still slick from last night's rain. Every item here tells a story. Fish caught from backyard ponds, vegetables grown behind shacks, bananas ripened in a neighbor's garden. Sellers and buyers call each other by name. No one haggles too hard because everyone knows the value of every coin is a day's survival. An old woman, around 70, flips grilled bananas with trembling hands. Her straw hat is frayed, her smile toothless but kind. "I don't need to sell much," she says softly. "Just enough for dinner." Nearby, children laugh while helping their mothers count small notes, their bare feet covered in mud, their eyes bright as morning light. Voices overlap, The clatter of knives, the cries of vendors, the crowing of roosters, all blending into a wild, living symphony of survival. The people here are poor, but never hopeless. Because in the market, they rediscover what it means to exist, to talk, to share, to laugh, to endure. Amid hardship, the market becomes the heartbeat of the community, a place untouched by progress, where the spirit of humanity still thrives. The camera pans, sweat glistens on faces, sunlight dances on fish scales, smiles flicker through broken stalls. Each frame is both beautiful and painful, a silent reminder that the poor may have little, but they still hold what wealth often loses: compassion. As the day fades, the market empties, but the echoes linger. The scrape of a knife, the flap of a hand fan, the sound of footsteps squelching through red mud. And maybe that's the miracle of Siem Reap. In the midst of poverty, people still smile. Because survival, in its truest form, isn't just about enduring, it's about finding joy in the smallest fragments of life. As the last rays of sunlight fade over the rusted rooftops of Siem Reap, the city sinks into a strange silence. Just a few kilometers away, the tourist district glows with golden lights, laughter, and luxury. But here, in the outskirts of red dust, a different world breathes quietly. And in this darkness, what the light has hidden begins to reveal itself. Tourism brought Siem Reap fame, fortune, and the world's attention. But it also brought a paradox. The brighter the glow of prosperity, the deeper the shadows of poverty. The poor here have become the blurred background of Cambodia's modern success, visible yet unseen. They are the hands sweeping the roads for travelers to walk on, the smiles behind hotel counters, the vendors selling bananas and lottery tickets in the margins of the city. They live in the same space, yet exist on a different layer of reality. And perhaps that's what makes Siem Reap both beautiful and heartbreaking. Its beauty isn't only in its ancient stones, but in the quiet endurance of its living souls. If Angkor Wat stands as the symbol of what the ancestors built, then the slums outside are the mirror of what the present has become, a place where glory and struggle coexist. Here, poverty isn't just the absence of money, it's the absence of opportunity, the chance to learn, to work, to be seen, to be heard. And when opportunity disappears, people slowly become ghosts in their own homeland. Yet even amid that, there is light, the kind that flickers from within. Mothers still smile over charcoal stoves, children still chase each other barefoot through the dust, and men still believe that tomorrow might bring something better. They are small lanterns against a storm called progress, fragile but unyielding. The question then is not, how do they survive? But how have we forgotten them so easily? Standing before the grandeur of Angkor Wat, watching the sun sink beyond its towers, you begin to realize that behind every cultural heritage lies another kind of legacy, the human one. And sometimes it is those unseen people, those silent lives, that give a place its truest greatness. Number 8, the spirit of solidarity and human kindness. Amid the narrow alleys and rusted rooftops of Siem Reap, where poverty seems to have stripped away everything, one treasure remains untouched: human kindness. Here, no one has much, yet no one is left to go hungry. A bowl of rice is shared, a roof is rebuilt together, a child is watched over by neighbors while the mother works miles away. Trust isn't written in ink. It's woven through daily acts of care. An old man spends his evenings mending fishing nets for others, though his own hands tremble too much to fish anymore. In a world where everything has a price, kindness here remains free, humble, quiet, and deeply human. In the poorest places, kindness is the cheapest, and also the most precious. That line isn't poetry, it's reality. Despite hardship, people here hold on to decency, a small, steady flame against the darkness of despair. When storms tear away roofs, the entire neighborhood comes together. One brings nails, another brings tools, someone cooks a pot of porridge to share. There's no leader, no plan. Compassion simply happens. Sometimes it's a small act, an old shirt given to a stranger, an oil lamp lit for a neighbor without power. These moments never make the news, but they keep the city alive. In Siem Reap's poorest corners, people have learned to lean on each other, to share, not because they have plenty, but because they understand lack. When the world takes everything away, kindness becomes the only currency left, and they spend it generously. That's why, even if Siem Reap is called one of the poorest cities, it remains home to some of the richest hearts on earth. And from these humble souls, beneath the smoke, the dust, and the weight of survival, a quiet hope still burns, defying despair with the simple power of human connection. Number 9. Charities and small schools of hope. In a city where people fight daily just to survive, some choose to light a candle instead of cursing the darkness. On the outskirts of Siem Reap stands a small bamboo house with a tin roof. Not much to look at, but inside, the air is alive with children's voices reciting lessons. Their teacher is Mr. Visha, a former tuk-tuk driver who lost his job during the pandemic. When he had nothing left, he decided to give what he still had: his heart. Using old notebooks and donated pencils, he opened a free classroom for children who could no longer afford school, calling it a new chance. Each morning, more than 30 kids squeeze together in the tiny space, their eyes bright as he writes letters on a worn wooden board. Outside, the dust swirls. Inside, it feels like a miracle. "We don't have much," he says, "but if everyone gives a little, the community will have a lot." That spirit has begun to ripple through Siem Reap. Charities and NGOs like Help Code Cambodia are transforming thousands of lives. According to their 2024 report, over 5,000 families have benefited from vocational training, life skill programs, and microcredit grants, helping them start vegetable gardens, small tailoring shops, or home-based businesses. In remote villages, women gather under makeshift roofs to learn sewing and organic farming. Children learn not just to read and write, but to dream again. Beneath sheets of corrugated metal, a different kind of future is being written. One drawn not in stone, but in chalk. There are no spotlights here, no headlines, only quiet acts of faith. While the world sees Cambodia through the ancient stones of Angkor, these people see it through the eyes of a child. And maybe, just maybe, these humble classrooms are the real monuments, places where the poor don't beg for pity, but reclaim dignity through knowledge and compassion. And within these sounds, the laughter of children, the hum of sewing machines, the quiet joy of a woman finishing her first shirt, we realize sometimes miracles don't come from wealth, but from hearts that refuse to stop giving. Number 10. Silent faith and hope. In Siem Reap, sunset doesn't fall softly behind the towers of Angkor, as postcards suggest. It drifts instead over rusted rooftops, slipping through cracks in tin walls and spilling into the narrow alleys of the city's poorest neighborhoods. Down below, children's laughter rises through clouds of red dust, mixing with the distant hum of monks chanting from a nearby temple. The scene feels strangely peaceful, not because sorrow is absent, but because people have learned to live with it. Here, hope isn't a promise. It's a habit, like a mother lighting a fire even when she's out of wood, like a child pedaling to a leaking classroom, or an old man praying beside incense smoke, though no one ever answers back. Every day, the poor of Siem Reap repeat small acts that seem meaningless, but they are what keep them alive. In poverty, faith doesn't need to be grand. It only needs to endure. Perhaps it's the faith that tomorrow's rain will hold off long enough for clothes to dry, or that the hen will lay another egg, or simply that kindness still exists. Under the amber light of dusk, there are quiet, sacred moments. A vendor pressing her palms together to thank a stranger for buying her last bananas. A child laughing as his plastic bag kite catches the wind. A monk walking barefoot through muddy water, sunlight glinting on his saffron robe like a tiny miracle. In a place where there seems nothing left to believe in, the human heart remains the last unbroken thing. No speeches, no grand gestures, just a touch, a greeting, a look of understanding. Hope in Siem Reap doesn't shout or shine, it simply exists, like breath, like heartbeat, like the last ember that survives when everything else is gone. And perhaps that quiet endurance is the truest measure of life here. As night falls, small lights begin to glow through the darkness, faint, trembling, but alive. And perhaps that light is the true soul of this city. As the sun sets over Siem Reap, the sky turns into a golden canvas, its light touching not only the ancient towers of Angkor, but also the rusted tin roofs of the slums where people quietly endure. This journey began with beauty, but it ends with truth. The truth that behind every gentle smile lies a pair of weary hands. Behind every tourist postcard is a story of struggle, and within every hardship, a seed of hope still grows. We've walked through the alleys of poverty, heard the voices of single mothers selling fruit, and seen children studying under the dim glow of oil lamps. Somewhere amidst the smoke, the dust and the laughter, we realize true beauty doesn't live in stone walls. It lives in the human spirit. Tourism shows us what's visible, but empathy lets us see what's real. Siem Reap isn't just a city of temples. It's a city of perseverance, of people who may have lost everything but never lost faith. If you ever visit Cambodia, look beyond the stone walls. Look into the eyes that have witnessed both glory and hardship. Because sometimes, the most beautiful thing in a nation isn't its monuments, it's its people, still smiling despite the struggle. As night falls, small lights begin to flicker through the darkness, fragile yet unbroken. And perhaps that's the true symbol of hope. This story isn't only about Cambodia. It's a reminder for all of us that whether in light or shadow, kindness is what keeps the world beautiful. If this story moved you, share it, so that more people can see the truths behind beauty. Leave a comment, tell us what touched you most, and don't forget to subscribe to Fascinating Discoveries, to continue exploring the unseen corners of our planet, where light and darkness coexist. As the screen fades to black, the sound of children's laughter lingers under the twilight, and the logo of Fascinating Discoveries appears softly, like a quiet reminder that the world is still full of wonders worth feeling and stories worth telling.